Hello friends, welcome back to Science with me. My name is Dr. Erica. I am so excited that you're joining us for this Tinkercad tutorial. You should be at Tinkercad, and today we will be using code blocks in our Minecraft exploration. So you'll go over to code blocks and you can create a new code block, which will open this up, and we are going to make a really fun diamond box. So you want to hit create new design. And we're going to create a box that is not three-dimensional, because if you're a patron of ours, we can actually ship you these two-dimensional shapes, and we'll show you how to fold it into a three-dimensional shape, which is sort of fun. It lets you have your projects come to life. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make sort of a box that looks like a T. And we need to cut some pieces out so it can fold up. So let's first make our box. So you'll add a box piece here. And you can click on that arrow and it'll give you some options. And we are going to make our width 30, and we'll make our length 128. And then our height for all of the things that we ship out is going to be 3. So we've got that, and we're going to move it so that we can have it in a nice and easy spot to work with. And we'll move it by y is 64, which is half of 128, sort of pushes that whole box up. And if we hit go, we can see that. And we're going to take this and we'll split it into 4 boxes, and then we'll have 2 that come off the sides, and we'll look at how we can do that. Now, to make the 4 boxes, I need to create some holes that are going to be sort of triangular in shape, that will create sort of like a hinge that we can heat up and then bend really easily. So since we're going to make 4 of them, and they're going to go sort of stack up 1, 2, 3, 4, we can use a count with loop. So we can count with, here we're going to count with I like to go from 0, because then I don't have to think about that initial math. And we'll go up to 4. And that gives me actually 5, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And it'll give me here at the top, or yeah, the bottom and the top of it will happen. So we're going to then add a roof shape, and we'll add that into our loop. We're going to make it a hole. Now right now, if I hit go, it's just going to stack all on top of each other. It adds all those roofs right on top. We're going to have to rotate this roof and also make it stack up. The first thing we'll do is we'll rotate that roof. So I'm going to rotate it, and I'll rotate it around the y-axis. You can click right here and it gives you the other options. So we'll rotate around the y-axis by 180 degrees. Right there. And then we also need to rotate it one more time. We'll rotate it around the z-axis by 90 degrees. And now we can take a look and see what happens. And you can see that these are sort of exactly what we would want to be able to sort of punch a piece out, but we need them to move as they go. And they're not quite in the right position yet. It needs to be a little bit higher. So what we can do is we will move this, and we're going to move it. We don't need to move it in X, but in Y, we want it to change according to what this eye looks like. So we can do a little bit of math, and you can pull out this little guy right here where you can add, subtract, multiply, or divide. We're going to multiply, and you can pull our little eye over there, and we're going to multiply it by 32, which is how much we need it to move up with each case. And then we also want to move up in Z, and we can do 3.7 or 4. 4 makes nice, long, strong pieces here. And we'll notice that these are going to start moving. We'll speed it up. So they're moving. Now if I group this though, I don't have this whole piece cut out. So we actually also are going to need to scale it. I need to scale it in Y. And put our little scaling up here. We'll do the scaling first. We'll scale in Y. We can just scale by something big so it gets nice and long. Just like that. What'll be nice here is that the boxes that come off to the edge can also use these 2 pieces for their bubbles. But we can take a look at what it would look like if we were to create the group to give you an idea. So you can see how this will allow it to sort of fold up for us. All right, so the next piece that we're going to do is we're going to add some edge pieces onto our box. So we'll come over and we'll grab another box, put it down here, and I'm going to change the color to something new. And here, I want this width to be 96. My length will be 32. And my height, like last time, will be 3. And I need to move this box up. So I'm going to move it in the Y direction. I can move it by 48. And if we run this program, we can see that this box moves in right where we want it, so that these bevels on the side will also bevel that green part, which is going to be great. So we need to add the bevels on the green and the red vertically instead of just horizontally. So we will now do another iterative loop. We'll count with J, and we'll go from 0 to 3 here, because we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 0 to 3. You get 0, 1, 2, 3, which will make us 4 pieces. Each time we want to add a roof, and we want that roof to be a hole, so you gotta click over on this gray part right there. And then we need to modify that roof, and we're gonna rotate around our y-axis by 180 degrees. Like that. And this time we'll rotate around Z by 180 degrees. And that will make them vertical instead of horizontal. Just like that. And we can take a look at what this will look like for us as we go. And I need to scale these guys in Y also. Come over here, we'll scale it in Y, we'll make them nice and long so they go across the whole piece. And of course, now they're still stacking up on each other because we haven't done any math about moving it to a certain spot. So now we need to move it, and I'm going to move it in X. So X, we got to move it this direction. When we move in Y, before we did the math on the Y piece, now we're going to do the math on the X piece. So I'm going to bring out my little math guy. Here we're counting with J, so make sure you pull your J over. And we'll do J times, and my first one's at minus 48. Like that. Or oops, we actually have to do this twice. We'll do, let's see, let's pull out 2 of these. We're gonna do minus 48 plus, and then this will be J times, I think, 32. And that will shift it over. So we'll have our initial starting point, and we'll all shift over, and we want that to go into our X part right there. We can take a look at what this looks like. This is looking pretty good, but we do need to shift it up in Y. So we can shift it up in Y, let's say by 47, and we want to shift up in Z by 4, so that the same height as the other sets. And here now we get full coverage. We can look at what will happen if we create a group as we do this. And you can see how this looks just like a box that will fold up. Now, if you want, you could stop here and you could send us this STL file, but a diamond box in Minecraft is really cool because it has these sort of holes that are cut out and glow through it. And we kind of want to mimic that here. And so what we're going to do after we create this group, we can do that with another loop. So we can, let's see, we can make a loop. First we'll just make a loop. And I'll show you how to make this loop. So we're going to, each time we're going to add a box, and we can choose the size of the holes of that box. So we're going to add a box. Let's make this 4 by 2, and I don't really care about the height here because it's going to be a hole, and I want it to move to a certain spot. So I'm going to set the move piece here. Oops. We'll move it over, and I want it to move sort of randomly. I don't want to have to choose where it goes every time. So I'm going to move it in X randomly, and for X, which is this red part here, I could go from like sort of maybe minus, I don't know, I don't want it right on the edge, so maybe minus 10 or 11 to plus 10 or 11. So let's do minus 10 to 10. And then I also want it to move up in Y. So I can choose another random number for y, and I could go basically from 0 up to 128 if I wanted to. And then the number of times that I repeat this will be the number of boxes that I have. So let's say I repeat it 20 times, and when we hit go, we'll create this group, and it's just going to place 20 boxes randomly. And we probably want to hit another create group here so we can see what those boxes look like. Just like that. And so it sort of randomly places them. Now sometimes they place on a hinge, and that's sort of okay. If you want it to have the same number of boxes in each one of these, we can add a piece of code. If you're happy having random amounts of numbers in each box, that's totally fine. You could finish here and have those cool pieces. But let's say you want to have only 5 in each box. So in the x direction, it's going to stay the same. We still want these bounds between -10 and 10. But now we want the y to sort of be bounded into each box. So maybe I only want 4 in each box. I'm only going to repeat this 4 times. And what we're going to do is we're going to add a count with loop, and we're going to put it around this guy right here. And we'll pull the create group out to the very end. Now x will stay the same, y is what's going to be different. So it's still going to be a random number. We'll keep that in there actually. And now I want the random number. I can do some math here. If I want it to sort of be off these bevels, I could give it sort of a base what it needs to be under or over. So it needs to be, let's say, over 5. And we'll do 5 plus, and then we're going to add our multiplier, which is k here. And you can check because we have count with k. So we'll bring the k over, and we'll do k times, and these are all about 30 high, so we'll do k times 30. So that the second time it comes up, it's jumped up over to here. All right, so a random number between that, and maybe we should have just copied that, and we'll paste it. And then sort of we want the upper bound less than 30, so maybe 25, let's say. And we'll have the same multiplier there, and that will give us sort of 2 bounds, oops, that will help us. And then whatever number I put here is how many are in each box. And here I only have 4 boxes, so I'm going to go from 0 to 3, because remember 0 counts as a number. So 0, 1, 2, 3 gives me 4 boxes. And we can run this program and see how that it differs in what it places. So we have still some on the hinges. We could try to push those up if we wanted to. But other than that, it's looking pretty good. And when you're happy with this, if you like it like this, or maybe you liked it with just having them different amounts on each one, that's totally fine. You can send me your STL file. I'm going to leave it as an exercise for you to figure out if you want some holes on these green parts, how would you add those holes using the same techniques that we just did here. And then when you're all done, if you're a patron of ours, you can send us an email with the STL file. To get that, you would export to STL, and you would want to make sure that you put your name in there. Like I could put Dr. Erica's Diamond Box. And you could send us that STL file, and we will print it up and send it to you in the mail, which is really fun. And then what you can do, we'll show you guys how to heat these up with a hot glue gun. You just heat these hinges up and they can bend inward. You could even put a little LED inside your box and it will glow beautifully out of these holes. It'll be very amazing. And it'll be a great reward for all of this hard work in programming. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial on how to make a Minecraft diamond box in Tinkercad using Codeblocks and Blocky programming. If you would love to see us work on another project, you can always shoot us a line. We would love to hear it, and hopefully you'll join us on Patreon. Have a great one. Bye, friend.